Well, Joanne, Jimmy, we're back again. Thank you for joining me in what's now become a short series that we're doing about your experiences in Libya. Truly phenomenal first-hand accounts of, let's face it, the destruction of the most prosperous country in Africa.
Yes.
Now, in our most recent conversation, you guys addressed some of your critics with what I think was very compelling evidence, first-hand accounts. You've now provided me with some emails and things that we can refer to in future interviews.
Sure.
What else would you like to share with the people of the United States? What do people really need to know about this?
I think it's real important to know that we experienced divine intervention. There is absolutely no question about it. And I'd like to, Joanne and I would like to explain how we got to that point and how those things were delivered to us in an ongoing manner. And as you remember, we discussed when the bad guys started taking over Tripoli, they came into the Tripoli port and they started flooding these little Toyota pickup trucks with an anti-aircraft gun mounted in the bed, and they were four-door pickup trucks, and they had four guys in each one of them. They were loaded with weapons and lots of ammunition. They just flooded Tripoli, and that was a few days after the Black Hawk helicopters had come in and mowed down every person in the streets. They said they were softening the target.
It's crazy.
And then, when these guys rolled in, the U.S., UN, NATO just turned over Tripoli to these guys. And
when you say these guys, Jimmy, who do you suspect they were?
Well, they're Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood, Ansar al-Sharia, and the thing that was said by those guys was that, the West is so stupid because all we have to do is
change our
name tomorrow and it's a new group, but we're always the same. And so all these entities.
But they're paid mercenaries.
Yeah, they're paid.
They're paid.
And
who's paying?
The bankers that print phony money.
It's whoever who wanted to blow up Libya, who wanted to create a false flag revolution that never happened in Libya.
As the other government services man told us, the one that wired 29 training centers in Libya, in each one of those training centers, there were 4 containers. These were all prefab buildings. There were 4, he called them hardened containers. They were vaults, and they loaded those things up with money. Their biggest job was to pass out cash to all these guys that were being trained in these centers.
Well, it sounds really similar to what we've heard about this Iran deal where Obama sent billions in cash.
No, that was Iran's money. That was confiscated from, everybody, we gave
years
them,
ago.
No. 30 years or so ago, the U.S. confiscated $150 billion of Iranian money. If we only gave them back
cash, why'd they give them cash?
Because it was put into the Federal Reserve System, just like Libya was required to put all their money in the Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank. Libya put $241 billion into the Federal Reserve in cash and cash equivalents. Into the European Central Bank, 150 billion euros. That was almost $500 billion. Libya had to divest themselves of all the other investments they had and put it into those systems. Iran was the same thing. The Iranians had cash in the Federal Reserve System to do their international trades and stuff, to go through SWIFT. Well, the first thing we always do is commit economic warfare on a country, so they confiscated that money. That was Iran's money. And how much profit, how much interest, what do you think the U.S. has earned on that, or the Federal Reserve, in those 30 years they've had the money? Well, typically, if you're any good, your money doubles every 8 years. So if you give them back $150 billion, how much have you made off of it? So this was not any gift. This was Iran's money in the first place. So
nobody talks about that.
They talk about it, but see, that's the word speak. That's the agenda. Oh, we're giving Iran money. No, that's not true. But the money that was given to these terrorists, these trainees in Libya, are the mercenaries for the CIA, the Mossad, MI6, Sûreté in France, etc. And those are the mercenaries. Those are the paid warriors, if you would.
I call them the proxy army because
For
they
the
go,
deep state,
they dump them
bad
into
guys.
countries that they want to take over, that they want to destabilize and add their puppet government, whatever it is. Libya was a perfect example of that because they had to send in 250,000 of these people to take over the country because the Libyan people were not,
They weren't in the fight.
No, and we know that they did this because this is what we know. H.E. Dangor, who was, and I probably said this before, but I'm going to say it again, he was the plenipotentiary ambassador from South Africa to Libya.
Right.
He was in our hotel in the Corinthian because a lot of his people had left. When the war really got close to Tripoli, a lot of people left. And he was in there, he was diabetic, and he said, I have to stay here so I can eat, because I have to eat at certain times. And we sat and had coffee with him a number of times. And finally I asked him, I told Jimmy, I said, I'm going to ask him, why did South Africa join this NATO war? Because Libya, Gaddafi did a lot of first world activities in Africa. He did a lot of agricultural, he helped a lot of those countries. And South Africa was very close to Libya. And he said, let me tell you something. He said, your Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, showed up in our country and told us in no uncertain terms that if we did not join her war, and he said she called it, he repeated that, her war against Libya, that we'd probably find some rebels in our backyard. And he said it was like she had a closet full of these things. And that's the fear of all the countries around, that they're going to be taken over by these rebels like any country that is attacked. So it's a blackmail tactic that is used all the time.
We're going to give you a second example to prove that's what she did. In the early days of the war, this is when we were back in the after I was back after February 8th, and Libya was being blown up, and you'd see films of everything's wet wall construction, concrete and rebar, and the wall would fall over and there'd be somebody trapped underneath. And Libya's using ropes and bulldozers and stuff trying to lift those walls to get the people out. Well, the Jaws of Life company developed technologies. They have a Kevlar balloon. They flatten it out, they put it up underneath one of those buildings, they pump it up and it lifts the building up and they go pull the people out.
Right.
Plus the Jaws of Life were important, all that stuff. We called our Kuwaiti friends, 30-year friends, he's about 4th echelon in the royal family in Kuwait, and very close to all the royal family, and we said, Sabi, why don't you get your royal family to donate like $10 million worth of this rescue equipment to Libya? They need it all over the country. They have nothing like that. And he said, okay, I'll get back to you. Well, typically, we would hear back from Sabi in a day or two. Well, 10 days later, we hadn't heard from him, so I called him and I said, Sabi, what about your royal family? He said, yes. We decided that was a very good thing to do, and he said, we're going to donate $50 million. I said, wow. I said, do you need any help sourcing that equipment? Because I said, I found, it's really short supply, but I said, I found some in Germany, I found some in the United States. He said, no, what we did is we called your State Department. And they said all of those kinds of donations are being handled by Qatar.
Yeah.
And he said, so we've delivered the money to Qatar. And he said, then your Secretary of State said to us, well, since you're so interested in Libya, then you need to, this is Hillary Clinton talking to the royal family in Kuwait. She said that since you're so interested in Libya, you need to join our coalition in fighting the Libyans.
And of course, we've heard from WikiLeaks that Hillary Clinton, in her own words, in an email to John Podesta, said that Qatar and Saudi Arabia are funding ISIS.
Yes.
Do you find it ironic now that there's been so much emphasis just in the past few days? It's been leaked that they're indicting Julian Assange. I mean, it seems like he's revealing the true information about horrendous war crimes, and they're indicting Julian Assange and not Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, what is he being in, what law has he broken?
I don't know.
He's divulging secrets.
Well, journalism isn't.
Yeah, it is journalism, absolutely.
But, you have to understand she's absolutely part of the deep state.
Hillary.
And just like the Kuwaiti said, she said if we don't join her war, that we'll have rebels back in Kuwait like when Iraq invaded.
1991 or
Yeah.
So she made the same threat to
She's
Kuwait
basically
and South
the queen of
Africa.
the deep state.
Yeah. Well, H.E. Danger said she went all around Africa to every country. He said she absolutely hit everybody.
Now, to fill in the audience on who is H.E. Danger.
Danger, he's the plenipotentiary ambassador. He was, in 2011, the ambassador from South Africa to Libya. And he's a plenipotentiary, meaning
And this is the guy who was at your hotel.
Yeah.
with
he
the
was at the
guys.
Corinthia Hotel with us, and we sat, like I said,
We
and
had
had
tea with him.
tea and coffee with him, and got to know him. There were a lot of
Are
ambassadors.
you still in touch with him?
No, I do not know what happened to him. I can't find him. I don't know. He's in another country, I'm sure, because they pulled all the
But,
countries pulled their ambassadors.
A plenipotentiary has signatory authority for the country. So he could bind the country with treaties. He's not just a normal ambassador. He's on the top echelon of ambassadors from South Africa. But
South Africa has its own troubles now. You know, they have a lot of problems. So,
A lot of violence going
yes,
on.
Oh, terrible.
yes, it's terrible
the
there.
genocide of whites is going on full time.
Now, the Russian ambassador that helped us, Maxim Maximov, he was a new ambassador to Libya. I think he came in June or July of 2011. The other ambassador was pulled back, and Putin was not in charge of Russia at that time. I think he was the prime minister. Medvedev was.
Yeah.
And so they sent this new ambassador over, and he called us. His office said, Russia would like to know the truth of what's happening in Libya, because what we read in the media and what we're being told on the ground are two different things. And so he said, I went to the foreign ministry here in Libya, and they told me to go talk to the two Americans in the Corinthian, that they know the truth, that they've interviewed many people on the ground
The
there.
reason for that is that in all our travels around Libya, we'd met lots and lots of Libyans. And when their young men would go fight, they would go fight 3 weeks and then they'd come back for a week of rest in Tripoli. So these families we knew pretty well, they would send their sons over to tell us what was really going on, because we were interested in knowing the truth. Because we'd been in the Rexus, we'd seen what these reporters were putting out, and it was not the truth. It was exactly diametrically opposed to the truth. So that was why we had a real good information base.
And they knew us, like we talked yesterday. We became really well known in Libya because we were on the Dr. Shakir show. We were at they invited us to every event they had, and they put us up on the stage. And actually, we were told, this is a funny thing, I'm remembering this now. I don't remember who it was. It was Sheikh Ali or someone told us that we actually saved the face of America for the Libyan people.
Wow.
Because there was so much damage being done by that country, that because we stood there with them, that they don't hate America so much.
They don't like the government.
They don't like the
But
government.
the people of the United States, they believe, are good folks.
Anyway, so let me finish with Maxim Maximov. So he asked if he could visit with us, and he came to the Corinthia Hotel. Big, tall guy, looked like a basketball player to me. He was 6 foot, yeah, real tall. Nice looking guy. He sat and talked to us for 2 hours and became friends with us. And he was one of the few places in Tripoli that had adult beverages,
Yeah, that's
at
why
their embassy.
Joanne liked him.
Yeah,
You could go there and
yeah.
get adult
we
beverages.
never went to that embassy. But when they came in and attacked Tripoli and blew up Tripoli, everybody was trying to get out. You couldn't get out because they were bombed all the roads. And
Airport, I presume.
there was never an airport because it was shut down from the no-fly zone. So you couldn't get out that way. We had some people offer to take us over the mountains, but I'm pretty sure they were bad guys, so we didn't go that way.
Who created this no-fly zone?
The UN.
UN?
On what basis? The shooting of those three guys?
Yeah.
The fake,
The fake
false
shooting.
flag.
Yeah.
But
But-
it was only a no-fly zone. It wasn't blow the hell out of the country.
It wasn't take
It was
over the entire
established
country and
no-fly
put all the
zone.
mercenaries in it.
Now, you remember during the presidential debates in 2016, Hillary Clinton was proposing a no-fly zone over Syria.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is sort of her little, just the
It's
tip,
yeah.
sort of.
Way back there.
Let me
And
stick
this
this
is about-
sword in here so
yeah.
I can rip the whole country apart.
Here's about
Yeah.
a year and a half or so into the destruction of Libya. Obama came out and said that this was such a successful venture that from now on they're going to call
That Libya.
They were going to call it
Yeah.
a Libyan model. They were going to use the Libyan model
In other
to take
countries.
over all these other countries.
Yeah, Obama said that in a speech.
Wow.
And that's why when this is after Trump
Bolton.
had the meeting
Bolton.
with North Korea, Bolton said, well, we're going to do North Korea just like we did Libya.
We're gonna
We're
use the Libyan model.
And so North Korea said, "Screw that! You know, not going to happen."
We saw what you did to
Libya.
Wow.
But the Libyan model was their perfect plan to destroy a country, you know. And but the fact that we were invited by this ambassador, this Russian ambassador, to have seats on the rescue ship.
Yeah, what happened was he called us when they had blown up Tripoli, and he said, "This is the Russian ambassador, Maxim Maximov," and he said that the Prime Minister of Malta has sent a rescue ship for all the dignitaries that are left here that can't get out. He said, "I would like to put your name on that list. Would it be all right with you?" We said, "Certainly." He said, "You do realize your country's not going to help you."
He said
that to
you
me.
do realize the United States is
not going to help us. And I said, "I think I've realized that, yes." And he said, "So we would like to." And so from that point forward...
That's Russian collusion.
Yeah, there you go. Better be careful. Anyway, we met Tony Hay. He met us in the lobby. He was the FIFA coach for Libya from Germany.
From German, right.
And he said, "Are you Americans?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Are you going to get out?" And I said, "We're going to try." He said, "Can I come with you?" And we said, "Certainly."
Wow.
So he actually had a room there, and we had a room. When the hotel started, when the whole thing started to blow up, half of that hotel was shut down because all the men who worked in the hotel, the managers and stuff, they all left. Only the women were left. The security was gone. Everything was gone. There was no security anywhere.
Why would the women stay if the men left?
Because
they weren't afraid, I guess.
Yeah, they had some gumption, you know.
I don't know.
Wow.
One of them was from England. There were
she was in charge.
Filipino. There were a lot of, and she was human resources.
We're still in touch
they
with her.
They felt responsible for the people that were in the hotel.
And the men left?
Men all left. Yeah.
They weren't Libyans. They were foreigners that were in running that hotel. That's a 6-star hotel. It's the fanciest hotel in Libya, you know.
Corinthian.
Yeah.
It was the only hotel left with power and food in the end.
Wow.
And so when they got these people out of the rixas that had been held there, all those journalists and everybody, and Terry Mason, the guy I was talking about, they brought them all to the Corinthian. That's where we met Walter Fauntroy. Walter Fauntroy was, he took over for Martin Luther King.
The lobby was full of people.
Yeah.
There weren't any rooms because the few women that were there, they couldn't clean the rooms or anything, so there were very, very few rooms. And the lobby was full, and we were down there trying to help as best we could. And so Joanne was up helping move some of our stuff. We had a suite, so she was moving stuff into the bedroom so that the sleeper sofa could be used by somebody else. And I was down the lobby, and I'm talking, and all of a sudden I hear somebody speaking American English. And I walked over towards him. He was near the elevators, and I said, "How do you do? My name's James." He said, "You're James Moriarty, and your wife is Joanne. I'm here to save your lives."
Who was tiny guy?
Walter
Fauntroy.
Okay.
He was the guy that took over Martin Luther King's position in the Southern Federation. He was the first elected official from Washington, D.C. to Congress. He started the Black Caucus. He's the senior black statesman for the United States.
And he came to Libya.
He was there because he knew Gaddafi.
Because he knew Gaddafi.
He was over there trying to negotiate a treaty.
He knew Mandela. He knew all the leaders in Africa real well.
Right.
And he said,
and of course, Gaddafi was the president of the African Union, so it makes sense that the leader of the Black Caucus was meeting with him.
Right, exactly. He knew him, and he said, "I know this has nothing to do with what they're saying, and I'm trying to get this stopped, this killing of the people here." And they had a hit out on him. Walter had a hit, and he told us he was trapped in that Corinthian hotel, and when he got it, he said, at one point in time, I had gone down to the gym. He said, I heard
the hotel people said there's 4 Americans. They're in the gym all the time. Oh, really? So he went down there to meet him. He said, "Here's these
Walter
guys,
told us this
buff,
story.
Really, fit guys down there exercising, And he got talking with them and praying with them. Walter was minister of a big church in Washington, D.C.
Guys?
They were hit squad. But after 4 or 5 days, they told Walter, they said, "We were sent here to take you out."
Wait, why would they tell him that?
Because they said we've learned that you're really a good guy.
And we're not going to do it.
And you're a real good man, and we're not going to do that.
Wow.
Now that day it was
Hit
published.
men with a conscience.
Yeah. Amazing.
That day it was published that he was killed.
No, it was
in Tripoli.
Yeah. When we got home, there was a article that came out in the news that said Walter Fauntroy killed in Libya.
Was he killed?
No.
No.
So it was false.
He's
No,
still
it was
alive.
false.
It's fake news.
He was getting out of Libya at the same time we were. And
Who published that story?
The New
was-
York Times.
It was
all
a big
of them.
story. It was a big story.
Because
Walter
this guy
Fontroy.
is a statesman.
And
yeah.
is it known now that he wasn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he came home shortly thereafter, but they never reported that he was alive.
Wow.
But his wife and family thought he was dead.
My God, that's
And
crazy.
then Hillary put a kill contract on him, and he had to leave the United States again. He was actually living outside the United States for 5 or 6 years. He didn't get to come back until
About a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
When's the
maybe.
last time you spoke to him?
just
A
a few
couple
days
weeks
ago. We
ago.
speak to him all the time.
We speak to him, we speak to his brother,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's still under duress, and they made a bunch of phony charges against him because he was trying to help Gaddafi. So he put a gag order out. They put a gag order out on him. He had to agree not to tell all the things that he told us because he said, it's my family and they're trying to take my home and they won't give me my retirement from Congress or
What's
anything
the
like
exact
that.
same story we've heard from Kevin Shipp?
Yes, and Walter was on that committee, the JFK committee, that had a gag, since JFK's here this weekend, that...
Oh, you mean the House Select Committee on
Yeah.
Assassinations?
Yeah.
No, it was this.
Yeah, it was.
It
It was
was
the-
it.
it-
It was
if
the
that's the
JFK.
name-
It was the JFK investigation.
If that's the name
When?
of it,
Back
Right
right
after
after
he
it
was
happened.
killed.
Right after
Oh,
it happened.
Warren Commission.
Yeah, that's what he was on.
Yeah.
And they were sworn to secrecy for 50 years.
and they've extended it. I said, Walter, now you're going to be able to. They've extended the gag order.
How old of a guy is he?
He's
84,
84,
85,
Wow.
but very spry, very bright.
He's a skull and bones guy. He was an absolute insider.
Wow.
And his brother worked on the 7th floor of the State
He's
Department.
about
He was an
5'4", tiny little. Look him up on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm
He's
surprised
there.
I don't know more about him. I apologize, but I mean, that's an amazing
Well, because he's
story.
a senior guy, But Walter was a jewel, and he really.
What happened was Tony left his hotel room,
Mm-hmm.
Tony Hay, Anton Hay, the FIFA coach, and moved into our room and gave his room to Walter.
Wow.
Joanne's
So he had
daughter was burning down the lines to the State Department all the time. My mother and her no good husband are there. You got to get them out of Libya,
That's not what
she
she
was.
said.
She was absolutely hell on wheels.
And did they do anything? Did
No,
they respond?
no.
Yeah, Walter. They gave the information to Walter because he was in Libya or going to go to Libya. That's why he said he was there to save our lives. But
So
he
Hillary
was in
Clinton,
trouble.
Hillary Clinton is the Secretary of State. Walter is in the State Department, and she's putting out a hit on him.
He doesn't work at the State Department. He's retired now.
Oh, okay.
But he had a big church, huge
His brother
church.
Oh, his
was-
brother's on the
His
7th.
brother
And his
was on
brother
the 7th.
retired. He left. He said, I couldn't stand what was going on there, but the 7th floor is where all the dirty tricks take place. He left there. He said, I couldn't stand
I think
it.
that's where the Aswan brothers were.
The Iwan brothers?
Yeah, Wan brothers. Yeah.
I think those guys floated around all
Listen,
over the
the
place.
DIA agent that was in our home told us that all the intel that comes in Arabic is translated by the Muslim Brotherhood for the U.S. intelligence.
And then
He
they
told us
deliver it. So anything that's really bad never got to this.
Why would they do that? I mean,
Because there's information they didn't want to get into the
right.
intelligence community.
That's the essence of a man in the middle.
He also told us that they were setting the policy in this
He
country.
said-
This was under Obama.
the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said Muslim brother is setting the agenda of the United States.
Say that again.
Okay. Eric Maddox, the top DIA
Agent.
interrogator that was in our home 14 times at least, told us that the agenda of the United States was being set by Muslim Brotherhood.
This was 2013, so it was under Obama. But the Egyptian tribes and the Libyan tribes both told us that Obama was Muslim Brotherhood. They knew this before he was
Before
ever
he ever
elected.
They were really excited. They said, y'all are going to finally have a Muslim president. Who's
And-
that?
But
Obama.
then they said you have to be very careful. He is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood.
And
So
I
they
said,
knew
no,
this. Everybody knew it
He's
over there.
Christian. He said, no, in the Muslim religion, if it advances Islam, you can lie about anything you want to a
Infidel.
infidel. You can say whatever you want because it doesn't make any difference because you're advancing Islam.
Wow. Well, we've heard, of course, about this explanatory memorandum that details the Muslim Brotherhood plan to infiltrate the U.S. government. And I had presumed that that was through being elected to Congress.
And president.
Right.
Yeah, but they're also.
You got to look at Valerie
Muslim
Jarrett,
Brotherhood
other
is
people.
is a subsidiary of the intelligence agencies, as is ISIS, as is all of them. Those are all mercenaries
Wasn't
for the
it
bad guys.
MI5, I think, started
Yeah.
Muslim Brotherhood. It's either MI5 or MI6.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And what about the Muslim World League? Is that something that you've heard anything about?
I don't know about that.
Listen, we have enough trouble as it is. We know what we know, and that's it, you know. But, you know, the fact that the Russian ambassador stepped forward to get us on this rescue ship was a big deal.
Of course.
And then by the time we're ready to find that rescue ship, we've had the FIFA coach, we've had the sister of the president of Mauritania, we've had a Bahraini prince, we've got a no
Sounds like a
good
fairy tale.
I know.
a no good Nick from Texas.
make a great
who was
movie,
there.
don't you think?
He was,
Yes.
he was a Boy Scout leader who was in Tripoli trying to sell
Weapons.
guns or steal money or whatever. He was no good Nick. And we had one Filipino gal that worked for the hotel. So that was our entourage.
So that's the van that you've described where you're trying to get to this boat that's arranged by
Right, it's a hotel van.
Maxim.
No.
Yeah.
The van is arranged by the hotel.
Yeah.
The van's
The
arranged
gal
by
was running.
but
She
the
said,
ship was arranged
"Here's the
by
van,
Maxim.
and I'm going to put a driver in there. I'm going to put somebody in the passenger position." And she instructed them that at all these stops, all the way along the way, that they're supposed to say we're journalists, we're
Right.
reporters, and that happened. And we're going back and forth down the coast highway, 42 miles outside of Tripoli and back. And as we said, the second time we came into the port of Tripoli, which was really right in front of our hotel, second time we came there, we were held about an hour, and then all of a sudden, that place is just encapsulated with these pickup trucks.
All around our van.
With the gun.
With
now.
guns every place. And the tall guy that was, his hair was cut real short. He was
Kind of like
tall
a
guy,
Marine
spoke
Corps here,
English.
but he was
He had
Muslim.
the piece of paper, and he said, "Your game is up. We know who you are." And he's pointing to the piece of paper. We were close enough to see the piece of paper. Franklin Lamb has a very distinctive script. That was Franklin Lamb's script. And at the time he was in Tripoli, he was an operative for the CIA and the Mossad. And that was confirmed to us by the security in Tripoli, by Terry Mason, and by others. So Franklin Lamb's a bad
Yeah.
guy. We had outed
The-
him for who he was
The Libyan-
in Libya. Joy and I set up a sting of our own.
But the Libyan security came to us and asked us, why are you with this person? He's not a good person.
Franklin Lamb.
Yeah, and they knew who he was. They outlined who he was. And they said,
How did you meet him?
He was coming into Tripoli, and we were asked by a CIA operative, "Please help this guy. He's a good guy. He's there to try to discover where the depleted uranium is." He carried 3 or 4 books supposedly that he had authored, but I think they only changed the author page on them. They're real, and he'd come in and show them, I wrote this. I'm the world's expert on depleted uranium.
But it was interesting what he did. He opened his case, which he carried everywhere because you see it was all beat up. He'd open his case, he'd take out a book, say, "See here," and then he'd close it again, put it back down. Here's another one I wrote, "See here," put it,
But
close it.
he was taken. He wanted to go to all the military bases to measure the depleted uranium, and as soon as he would go to the military base, next day there'd be a hit on the spot he was at. So he's a bad guy.
So he's a CIA operative going to U.S. military bases.
No,
Libyan military.
Libyan military
They were
bases.
trying to destroy all of the Libyan military.
So he's posing as an author who's an expert on depleted
And
uranium.
he's going there to inspect, to check for depleted uranium. We never saw any Geiger count or anything he had. Joanne and I were asked to bring in testing equipment, and we purchased ourselves 2 of the most sophisticated measuring devices you could get, and took them in with us when we went
The
first
com-
in
yeah.
on a fact-finding.
The company was really nice. The guy was real nice, and he said, "Listen, I'm going to tell you something." He said, "We monitor depleted uranium worldwide at this company because they make all the equipment that." And he said, "Wherever NATO goes," he said, "on the map, whether it be Croatia or Iraq or anywhere," he said, "those light up like Chinese New Year." He said,
Wow.
"All those places are lit up."
This is something that's not really discussed enough at all. I mean, we hear a lot of people criticizing President Trump for wanting to reinvigorate the coal industry in the United States. Environmentalists are very opposed to that. But we don't hear anything about these illegal wars that are using banned chemical weapons like depleted uranium that
Right.
create environmental catastrophe.
For 50,000 years or more. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, after we go in and bomb someplace, all the dogs and kids in those neighborhoods glow in the dark. It's just terrible. And the other thing that is not ever mentioned.
Defects.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
Libya didn't even have those before, and 2 years after the war, they had tremendous amounts.
While the
of
war
defects.
was going on, Sheikh Tantouche came and told us. He said, you know, in this big hospital in Tripoli, he said there's not ever a deformity or an abortion. He said they just don't miscarry at all. And he said one, maybe a year, they were miscarriages 50 a day.
After the war
50
started.
a day. Well, no, this was while the war was going on.
I said after it started.
Yeah. And he said also the incidence of diabetes up 300%.
Heart attacks.
Heart attack.
High
and
blood
high
pressure.
blood pressure up 400%.
Well, maybe from the stress.
Oh, yeah, because they
these are
bomb all the time.
non-declared
Side effects.
casualties.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a huge deal. The thing that happened, and I'm going to go on to I want to get to how the miracles happened. When they captured us, and this guy says, you know, your game is up. We know who you are. They took us to their torture center, and they had taken over the Radisson Hotel, Radisson Blue. There, it had no electricity, and we were held in the foyer on the ground floor near the windows. And the mezzanine floor was where they were doing all their torturing, and they'd bring in these wounded soldiers in their uniforms. They'd take them on the elevator up to the mezzanine floor, and then they would torture the hell out of them. We heard sounds coming from those people that you cannot imagine a human making. And some weeks later, when one of the UN investigators, I don't know who was in there, they said there were 60, how many bodies?
63 dead bodies.
63 dead bodies in there, and I can tell you, we heard most of them being
But they took
put
all
to an untimely demise.
They took all of our documentation, our suitcases, they took
Passports,
everything.
And then I kept demanding that they give us our passports back. Oh, we're making copies of them. This was the next day. I said, it doesn't take a day to make. Well, the only copy machine's way down there. I said, we want our passports back. We want to get to the rescue ship. And I was in their face all the time.
Sorry.
This guy from
But
Texas.
these are Al-Qaeda terrorists, and
Yeah.
you're telling them you
They're
want
mercy.
your
Yeah,
passport.
Jimmy
Oh, yeah.
has no fear. And maybe sometimes that's good, maybe sometimes it's not
I've
so
never been
good.
accused of being too smart, you know. But I'm in their face. This guy from Texas, he's in the bathroom eating all his documents because he's afraid they're going to see what he's really been trying to do.
Trying to
there.
flush him down the toilet or eat him. The guy next to us said he's in there eating
And
his
after a long
documents.
time, this was early, maybe in the third morning, this big, fat, tall guy, bald-headed, wearing a dress.
What?
You know, I don't know what they call them, the
doctor.
Arabic long dress thing they wear.
I'm trying to defame the guy.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
that's what he's
defame
wearing.
him, but he came in there, and he had declared himself the Emir of Tripoli. He was the top imam. Anyhow, he comes in there, and he walks by us, and he kind of glances out the side, and he does something like this and says something Arabic, and he walks off back here.
It was all in Arabic. We didn't understand.
And at that point in time, the Bahraini prince and their sister of the president of Mauritania,
Fatima too.
they were wetting all over themselves. They were so nervous. They were absolutely, you know, their eyes were this big, and they were pacing and smoking. They were in trouble. Joanne and I didn't understand what they said, what he said.
Sorry. So this may have been the order to kill.
Yeah, it was, but we didn't understand it. They did. And I'm still up there demanding, you know, our release. And so they're about to do it. And then,
What happened was all these people got up. Everybody that was in the lobby sitting there got up, and there were some actually videographer or some journalists there from England that were supposed to videotape us saying that we were being handled well and treated well,
One by one.
and all this stuff. And finally, the guy said, "I'm not doing this anymore."
but they did about 5 of us.
They did about 5 of
They'd
us.
take us into another room, and he would record. He had a series of questions. Have you been treated well? Have you been injured? And all these things. And after may have been Joanne was the last one. Anyhow, he said, I'm not doing this anymore.
But anyway,
He knew what the reason was.
Yeah.
We weren't going to be alive in a few hours. And they went, oh, they were good.
They were
left
treated good. It
here.
was Gaddafi who killed them. That
sort
was
of the standard
Yes.
hostage video.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
and then they say Gaddafi.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were treated well because here they are on tape seeing they're treated well by us. So
And we said that ourselves. you
yeah,
know.
when we all got ready to move and leave, they brought back this big stack of passports that they had taken from not only us but anybody they had there, and they were starting to pass them out. And the driver for our van was gone. He wasn't there anymore. I was looking around for him, and Jimmy was over there yelling at Al-Qaeda. He's probably the only guy who ever yelled at Al-Qaeda or at these mercenaries. You know, he was over there. And the guy tagged my shirt like this. He said, I need to speak to you. He pulled me off to the side. I knew him. His name was Ayman. He was the IT guy for the hotel.
For the Corinthian.
For the Corinthian hotel, the hotel we came from. He didn't say much. He'd been in our room once or twice when we had internet problems. He was kind of quiet, but turns out he was as the Libyans call him, rats. He was a rat. He was on the side of the Al-Qaeda, of the mercenaries. But he said to me, he said, what your husband didn't understand and what you don't understand is what that imam said when he was standing in the hotel. He said what he said was, when they go to the rescue ship, they've set up a kill zone at that underpass. It's 2 blocks down. I knew right where it was. He said they're going to kill you, burn you, and chop you up, and it's going to be blamed on Gaddafi. He said, so this van, he said, I know you and your husband. He said, I watch you. He said, you're just trying to help the Libyan people. You're not bad people. So this van's not going that way. This van's going back to the Corinthia the other way. And so I had to go get Jimmy. I said, Jimmy, you need to listen to this. And so the van, he told
me, he said, same thing he told Joanne. He said, the imam said you're going to be killed and chopped up and burned at this little underpass 2 blocks away. We knew where it was.
Seems
and he
excessive.
said,
yeah.
He said, I'm going to try to take the back roads and get you back to the Corinthia. And he said,
IT guy said that.
Yeah.
The guy that was at Muslim Brotherhood.
Wow.
Now this was a miracle, because if any Muslim Brotherhood says anything, one word cross, they kill you, cut your head off, whatever. So this was a huge deal. And then he said, in order to give you enough time to try to get out of the country, he said, you've got to pay the mercenaries, because they're being paid $2,500 a piece to kill you and another $1,000 a piece to chop you up and burn you. And he said, if you don't pay them...
That information has been confirmed about what they were paid by other Libyans who told us that.
He said, if you don't pay them, then they're going to be looking for you. And he said, you have to... So, of all the people, of our 7, I was the only one with any money. I had $16,800 left in dollars. I gave it to him. I said,
cash.
In cash, yeah.
I said,
how are you carrying that much cash?
In a belt thing?
Belt.
So it must have been stuffed.
Yeah, it's not that. If you take hundreds, it's not that much.
It's a stack like this, $100 bills. 50,000 is only about like that. They're crisp new bills. I had them. I'm a big guy.
It's a good thing you did.
I'm a big guy.
Yeah, that was less.
So he went down there and he negotiated, and he said, the good news is they're not going to tell anybody that they didn't kill you. So you've got some
They've got
time.
the cash.
So we went in the van, back roads, back to the Corinthia. And when we get there, we've now got to find some way to get out of Libya, because they're absolutely after us, are going to be. Fatima too, who's the sister of President Mauritania, she said, I know a man that he's also Muslim Brotherhood, but he's coordinating the IOM ship. That's the
It was the UN rescue ship
UN
for the workers there.
Going from Tripoli to Benghazi.
Nurses and stuff. They were a lot of them from the Philippines and stuff were trying to get out.
I said, Benghazi, my gosh, that's the head of the snake. We don't want to go back there. She said, no, I've called my friends in Benghazi, and she said that nothing's going on there. She said all the mercenaries and all the murderers are here in Tripoli killing everybody. Benghazi's absolutely quiet. Nothing's going on there.
Now, what was the date at this time?
Oh,
This was the end of August,
Yeah.
be around August 26th, 27th,
What
of
year?
2011.
yeah. This is while
So well
Libya's been blowing
before
up.
the attack, a year before the attack
On
the
Chris
Benghazi.
Stevens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she said I said, I'm not comfortable going to Benghazi. We need to be trying to get the other direction. She said, no, I'll have him come and talk to us at the hotel. Now, Fatima too speaks Spanish. She's from Mauritania. I speak Spanish. So we absolutely could understand everything each other said. So she invited the guy, what his name, Mohammed?
His name was Mohammed.
He came. He was kind of a nice,
And
soft-spoken
Walter
guy.
Fontroy was with us at this time.
Yeah.
We had been down eating, and there had been gunmen in the hotel, so they told everybody to go up to their room, that there were gunmen on all the floors.
I've got to let you know, we finished eating before we went up to our
Yeah,
room.
we were the only ones. They said, look at these people from Texas are the only ones who didn't run out of here.
There was good food
it's
on the
smart.
table.
I mean, you're going to
Yeah.
die without food.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyhow, this guy comes up and we're all in our room and we're meeting the guy. Nice guy. He said, look, he said, I've known you people for years. And he said, you're good people. I'm going to put you in my van. I'm going to personally take you to the ship. I'm going to see that when you arrive in Benghazi, that you're not taken to the camp on the border of Egypt because they're looking for
the
you
refugee
there.
camp. They had a refugee camp
He
set
said,
up
I'm
on
going to have you taken into the hotel in Benghazi.
What goes on at the refugee camp?
They were looking for us.
They're gonna
Well,
kill you.
they took all the people that they'd taken on the IOM ship down to the refugee camp, apparently to filtrate them out of there wherever they were
Get them
going,
into
home
Egypt.
or
There were big
wherever.
refugee camps in Tunisia and Egypt. We had been to several of the camps on the Tunisian border. That was part of the
Fact-finding commission.
But he said in Benghazi, the U.S. has a consulate in that hotel. The U.S.
Odd, isn't it? Consulate
yeah.
in a hotel.
Yeah.
But because the U.S. had an embassy in Tripoli, but it had been abandoned months before. So here was their
It's
consulate.
like post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. So we're going
what they
to
did.
here's a U.S. consulate. If we can get there, then we can force our government to help us. So we agreed. We get on this IOM rescue ship. It's 2 days on the Mediterranean from Tripoli to Benghazi. It's hot. There's no air conditioning. The only food and there's about 150, 200 people on this rescue ship. It was a car carrier.
It's not
It'd been
exactly a
converted.
Carnival cruise.
No.
No.
There were two bathrooms.
Underneath was just for cars, and up on top was a small area for people.
2 bathrooms.
Wow. How many people on the
About
ship?
150,
150.
200 people. But the worst part was the only food they had on that ship was out-of-date fruit juice and warm water
That's not even food.
and moldy
No.
bread, moldy cakes.
I have photographs that's on that ship if you ever want.
So the bad part about it, as soon as you drank that fruit juice, you were doing the green apple quick step. And people were absolutely hanging body parts off of that ship to relieve themselves because the bathrooms were unusable, inaccessible, etc.
Wow.
So it was 2 hard days. And we arrived early into Benghazi. And I mean, early, like 8:30 or something in the morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was so early that
The port wasn't open. We had to
the port
circle
wasn't
out
open.
there for, I don't know how long, 10:30, 11:30, till the guy got
we
to the port.
finally got
to
in
open it.
there, and everybody else was offloaded onto these buses, and their luggage was dumped into dump trucks, except for ours.
Why?
And because the IOM guy, the the Muslim Brotherhood guy that put us on that ship,
And there were some UN people there in blue shirts, and they knew us.
and they got our luggage and us, and they took us to the Beastie Hotel.
Because they said, Mohammed said, listen, they'll be looking for you. Right now there's no communication between Benghazi and Tripoli, so they don't even know anything that's happening, but they will be looking for you at the refugee camp. Your name will be on a list. So you don't need to be going to that refugee camp.
So we're in the hotel. We go to the U.S. consulate office. The guy barely speaks English, and we said, we need help to get out of here. He says, I'm not here to help Americans. I'm here to help rebels.
In the U.S. consulate.
Yes.
So we go downstairs to the.
But that guy was a Libyan guy.
Yeah, he barely spoke English, but
How
he was
it a
he was
U.S.
an
consulate?
because it was the U.S.
Who's in
consulate.
charge-
He was working for.
Who's in charge of the State
for Hillary
Department? Who
Clinton.
sets up the consuls?
He
So
was
there
there
was-
to help rebels.
there was
U.S.
no-
was not there to help Libyans.
The U.S. was
or
not
us
really
or
even
anybody.
there. It was just a puppet.
So they just called it the U.S.
Yes.
consulate, but it's
Yes.
not, nobody's
was-
getting any visas in
No.
there.
No.
It was a U.S. consulate there to help the rebels.
The mercenaries that they brought in.
We went downstairs to the European Union office. That guy was much nicer. The guard that was in the front door had studied petroleum engineering at Texas A&M. His English was very good. Nice people. They said, you're not European Union. We can't help you. So we go downstairs. And by the time we'd been up there for, an hour and a half or so, we get downstairs, and the concierge at the hotel had recognized that we weren't a normal group. But what really impressed him was the Bahraini prince. So the concierge had called the ranking member of the phony
The
government,
National Transitional Council, they called
which was
it.
set up by the UN, phony
So wait a
government.
minute, he sees the Bahraini prince.
Yeah,
Was he dressed like a prince in some way?
No, they came over and talked to him, I think. This is
Yeah.
what happened, and he spoke Arabic, so they talked to him, and they were real impressed of who he was. And they knew we weren't rebels. We didn't look
We
like
didn't look
rebels.
like 'em.
We didn't have the right
You don't
anything,
say.
So they couldn't figure out who we were, so they called the head of the National Transitional Council was the one in Benghazi that was set up. That's a whole other story with people who were criminals before in Libya and been thrown out, and
Right.
now we're at the head of Libya.
That's who the UN installed in this puppet government. And this guy was number 3 in the government.
So just to get an overview of where we are, we have this staged war where operatives, hired people get shot. This initiates a UN no-fly zone and sanctions, and now we're installing some government.
Blow up Libya.
Taking over.
Blow
control.
up Libya.
So because 3 guys get shot in
Yeah.
Libya, the UN has the authority to install a new government?
No.
No, they don't
just
have
took
any
it.
authority.
So
They
what
just
happened?
took
How
it.
did that happen?
Because they established no-fly zone and extended that to blow up the country.
Once
But,
they
I mean,
blew it
what
up, they
happens-
just slid in their
What
people.
happens when 40 people get shot or 50 people get shot in
it
Las
depends-
Vegas? Why
it
doesn't
de-
the UN come take over the United
Because
States?
Exactly.
it depends on the agenda that's driving them. UN is 100% an
World
organization
Order.
owned and operated by the New World Order. 100%. And this takeover of Libya was planned in advance. The war games were played. If you look at our DVD, Dennis Kucinich explains the war plans were played in early 2010.
And people
And they
can
were
get
planned
that.
for years. They were
Yeah,
planned
right.
years in
People
advance.
can get that DVD at LibyanWarTheTruth.com.
Yes.
It's important that people watch
Yeah.
that DVD and,
And-
not just to get the information. You guys need the financial support and the knowledge to go out. Everyone needs to know this story.
Yeah.
So, since the plan was to blow up Libya in the first place, the no-fly zone was, I guess, the best excuse they could get past. They couldn't get the UN Security Council to say, okay, y'all go blow up Libya.
Well,
Well, let's set up a no-fly zone.
But what we're learning from this is that there seems to be a chess game that Hillary knows how to play. We can move this piece over
Yeah.
here. That
opens
causes this
the gate.
to happen.
Yeah.
And we can do this and that.
All right, no-fly zone is another word for we get to blow up the country.
Right.
And so,
It's a soft declaration of war.
Yes.
It's a strategic move.
Yes.
by the UN. So, anyhow, we're in Benghazi, and this phony government that was set up, the number 3 guy in that phony government was in Benghazi. So when his security guy came first to see who these people were, he calls his boss back and says, hey, listen, there's a Bahraini prince. There's a couple of good-looking American folks here. Me and that ne'er-do-well from Texas. And then I was there. Anyhow, they were
We got a comedian here.
I
Can you
know.
come rescue him.
I know.
but there were 6 of us. The Filipino gal, after we had been captured by, she said, I'm staying at the hotel. So we lost one. We're down to 6.
What was she going to do at the hotel?
She didn't want to part.
She
of
didn't
what
go to
we were
Benghazi
on.
with us. She just didn't want to be part of us going out anymore. She was going to figure out something else.
Just afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, scared her so bad, which,
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what happened to them?
No, don't.
No, I don't, but I still am in touch with the lady who was running the hotel. I still talk to her by email. She's still with that hotel
End up
group.
getting
She was
out,
from
yeah.
England.
But the security guy calls his boss and said, you better come here. So comes a man, well-dressed, tie, suit, everything. Very, very, very good English. And in the protocol of a tribal country is you try to make a relationship based on people you know in that guy's tribe. So the first question is, what tribe are you a member of? And he was a member of the tribe, coincidentally, that our best friends in Libya were members of that tribe.
Right.
So I give him their names, and I give him the name of the father and the mother and the sons and all this stuff. So he knows I know what I'm talking about, and he said, yes. He said, they're my tribe. They're not real high in the tribe, but they're good people. So that established a rapport. And he asked us, how long has it been since you've eaten? Well, it'd been 4.5 or 5 days.
That's crazy.
And he said,
it was Ramadan.
This was still Ramadan. He said, there will be a big break fast feast.
How are you feeling physically, having not eaten in 5 days?
Well, we were feeling a whole lot better than having lead poisoning.
Right.
Yeah, no,
from bullets.
we were
you know?
I don't know how anybody was feeling. The prince wanted to immediately go buy cigarettes. You know, everybody had their priorities. You know,
Wow.
We tried to go find something to eat.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody, we felt weird, but we were being driven by adrenaline.
We still were not. We were not out of trouble. We knew we weren't
out of the country
very
yet.
Close to a terminal. I mean, to an untimely demise. We knew that. So listen, your adrenaline keeps pumping. So when he came in, he says, I must have breakfast with my family, but I'm going to invite you to breakfast here. It'll be a large feast. And he said, then I'm going to leave my security man here with you, and I'm going to make every effort to get you on a plane flying from Benghazi to Tunisia that will be taking wounded soldiers. And he said, he will stay with you and try to get you on that plane. So we had a huge breakfast, wonderful meal. Then his security man takes us to the airport, and he puts us first in line, and he goes up and gets us seats, and he gets us passes and everything. They clear our visas and all that stuff.
We have stamps in our passports from that transitional council government. I'm sure
Probably
nobody has that because that went away, right away.
Wow.
So,
but still have those passports.
Yeah.
But
that would be cool to see.
They took us because this airport was full of people trying to get out.
Right.
Probably twice as many people as seats on the plane. But they take us to the executive lounge at the airport, and they sequester us there to keep all the prying eyes away from us. And then, as it got closer to plane time, dignitaries came in there. Another guy from the.
Was there any food there?
No,
we'd already listened.
We ate.
We
were okay.
Yeah, we
but
loaded the boat.
It was getting late. The plane didn't. I don't think it took off till what? 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning.
Wow.
But what was strange about the whole thing was, because there was a no-fly zone in Libya. Of course, it wasn't for any of the people that the UN and Hillary Clinton supported. They got to fly everywhere they
Rebels
wanted.
flew in and out like nobody's business.
So
the legitimate Libyans were
not allowed.
allowed.
To get on this plane, there was no tower, there was no lights. It was the middle of the night. They just walked us.
Dangerous to even take off.
Oh yeah, they walked us out on the tarmac. We got on the plane. They shut up the plane, and the plane was not full by any means. There were some.
And we didn't see any wounded soldiers on it.
There were some Qatari soldiers on it, and we know that because the prince knew their accent. He said those are Qatari soldiers.
And there were executives from the new government, from this thing. They were on there. They were flying.
There were a lot of empty
United
seats.
States and Europe and
as soon as they shut the doors, the plane took off.
Do you recall what kind of aircraft it was?
Oh, yeah.
737, 727. What was
727.
it? 727.
And it was
Libyan
the most
airline.
raggedy-assed old plane you've ever seen. When you look down between your feet, you could see daylight. The doors were missing. Half the overhead compartments.
But it was an old plane.
And that thing.
But it was
rattling.
Yeah, it was a jet. But
jet.
he took off, and as he took off, the plane was kind of going like this, He said, "We're going to stay low because we don't want to get shot down." That's what he said. So we're still in this mess that we're in.
Seatbelt sign will remain on.
Yeah. Now
Exactly.
see, the third miracle was that guy from the phony government put us on that plane.
Because there was no communication.
There was no
with Tripoli,
communication,
no
and
names came across.
We would never have gotten on that plane if he had not intervened. And he's absolutely 100% Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda, and everything. and the good
So
Lord
he
moved
intervened
him.
because he knew you from the hotel?
No,
he didn't know
Why
us.
did he do
He didn't
that?
know us because we were not a typical group.
We were with a Bahraini
We had
prince.
friends
Ah,
on
so
his
just they were
tribe.
impressed
We were with
him.
we were with the sister of the president of
just didn't know
Mauritania.
who you
We were
were.
with the
No.
FIFA coach for Libya. He was
Yeah.
real well known, the German FIFA coach. You know,
But we knew, we had intimate knowledge of people in his tribe. So we had
You
established
basically
a rapport.
just sweet talked your way onto
Yeah.
the plane.
yeah. He wanted to do it
But
for
this
us.
guy's a hard case, for us to, the good Lord either blinded him or
Touched his heart.
whatever touched his heart. Anyhow, that was the third miracle.
About 4 o'clock in the morning, we landed in Tunisia, Tunis. 4:30 in the morning.
And
I
so
think.
you were safe when you landed in Tunisia?
No.
No.
Well, we were trying to be safe, but
U.S. We were of course trying to find the U.S. to help us in some way to get in it because we're in Tunisia. We've already used all our money,
Right.
and we're trying to get out of Tunisia back to the United States. And as we're going
No
through,
credit cards or anything?
they don't take credit cards. But in the meantime, we're standing there at the baggage chute, and the little conveyor belt's going around, and we're getting our luggage, and there are these Qatari soldiers, and from their accent and the way they spoke, the Bahraini prince said these are majors. They're not general. They're not highly educated.
said they're mid-level. They're mid-level military.
And they were
who had been on the ground in
They were
Libya.
buff-looking guys, Well,
They were in
their-
camouflage utilities.
Yeah, and they had their carry-on luggage was a metal rack about like this, heavy angle iron with big rollers on it, and a metal grate on the bottom. The rebar, the angle iron was probably 2 or 2.5 inches on the side.
So
welded
was that
together.
guns?
It's a
No, no,
it's
no,
a
it's a
carry.
carry.
It's like
It's a rolling
a
cart.
rolling carrier. You put something on it.
Any
and
idea what's in there?
And we didn't know.
nothing's
There wasn't
in it.
anything in it.
It's
It was
just the
open.
wheels. It's just the carrier.
Okay.
It's a
Something's
frame.
coming to sit on it. Yeah, it's
It's
a frame.
So they go set it down beside the conveyor
Like a dolly.
belt.
Like a dolly is
Got
what
it.
it's like.
And then finally, after a long time, this first heavy reinforced box comes there. And
Metal
around
box.
the edge, it's reinforced on the bottom and the top. And it takes 4 of these guys. They stand on the belt and they pick it up and
Put it
set
on
it
the
down
dolly.
clunk on this dolly.
So what's in there?
Just a minute.
Okay.
Jumping ahead. It's a good story if you'll just let me get there.
Okay.
So they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting and so we're standing around watching them because this is something different.
We're also watching for our luggage, but they're right there in front of us.
But theirs was the last piece to come out is another one of these boxes. And it's got a hole in the side of it, just like a forklift had poked through it. Well, when they go and pick it up to lift it over here, they tip it, and some gold buttons fall out. These things are about this big around, about like that. I know what that is because I used to work as an agent for a refinery in Belgium. And when you're refining metal, there's a clay jar. They call it a cupola, a cup, and it's shaped like this, and in the middle of it, it's dished out. And when you're melting your precious metal, and you pour it into this clay jar, the non-precious parts are distributed into the clay. It absorbs those, and what's left in the bottom are precious metals.
Gold, silver, whatever you do.
If you're planning to get rid of a hallmark on a gold bar,
If other
Real
words, you're
easy.
stealing the gold.
Melt
real
it down.
easy way to do it, melt it, pour it into these clay jars, and you now get a button that nobody knows where it came from.
Aha. So these guys are manipulating some stolen gold. and
Yep,
everything.
yep. Cutter
That's-
took a
that's
lot of
their-
Libyan gold
I'm sure
out.
that's their bounty
Huh.
for blowing up Libya.
So it's
the-
like this unmarked gold.
Yes, it's exactly what it was. And we, oddly enough, were on that plane and witnessed that.
Wow.
So,
So everybody says, where'd the 179 tons of gold that Libya had gold? Well, we know where some of it went.
Secreted it out.
Yeah.
Carry-on luggage.
yeah.
Yeah. No, this was in the belly of the plane. What was carry on with these frames, I mean, these are heavy frames. You could have stacked a dozen refrigerators on them.
Wow.
The rollers are like this. They're steel rollers, you know, and this big angle iron frame with a metal mesh covering the bottom of it.
It was
and
a
they just
dolly,
fit
but-
those boxes, and
Yeah.
the boxes were reinforced.
They look like foot lockers to me. Little, I mean, not as big as a foot locker, but metal.
Cubic meter of gold weighs, what is it, 47 tons?
Wow.
A cubic meter.
So it's
So
a very
40 inches on the
heavy-
side. So it's heavy stuff, you know.
They probably had to pay the $25 fee for
Yeah.
For the extra weight.
exceeding the weight
Yeah, uh-huh.
of the bag.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was our third miracle that got us into Tunisia. And then Joanne's daughter, bless her heart, she stayed after. The best the U.S. Embassy in Tunisia would do for us
Yeah.
is they'd put us into a hotel at our expense for 4 or 5 days because they couldn't get any plane reservations. That was the end of the summer. It was banker's holiday in Europe. Planes were full. They couldn't do anything for us. And before they did anything, somebody in the United States had to wire money to them,
To the
To
state.
pay for you.
the
Yeah.
State Department. And they
The
would,
U.S. State Department
Yeah.
would not help you
Not
escape
at all.
a war-torn country
No.
until you paid them.
That's right. We
and
didn't.
the money
we
had to
didn't
be
actually
wired
do it.
into them, and then they would go buy the tickets and everything. And the
At
thing
whatever
was,
price they wanted to pay.
and they had just put a man on a plane, and they got him a one-way coach ticket to the United States for $4,700 something dollars.
Seems like a bad deal.
Oh, bad deal.
Now-
And the fact that the money would go to them, no, not
But they
good.
also said you can apply for a loan from us.
Oh, boy.
However, if we
We're
take
gonna
your
confiscate your
passport,
passport.
you'll never get it back till the loan's repaid.
And you've got so many days after you get back to the United States to pay it, then you'll have to pay for a new passport and all this other stuff.
So you know who helped us was Fatima too, the sister of the president of Mauritania. By the time she got to Tunis, she had immediately friends come visit her, and she had some money. So she put us in a hotel with her, bought
Right by
our
the
dinner,
airport. Oh,
helped us with a lot of
here's
stuff.
the other thing. We were within 2 miles of the airport. It was a $2 cab ride to the airport. The U.S. consul or embassy there wanted to put us at a hotel 50-something miles away. It was a $75 ride, taxi. We didn't have any money. They said, well, that's the hotel we use.
It was
So
not good.
We
thing,
were at
so.
the airport. We were at a hotel at the airport, and Joanne's daughter got us reservations to Rome.
We could get
the
to
next
Rome.
morning.
We couldn't get into the United States, but
The next
we got
morning.
to Rome.
But that's all right.
That's
Right?
better.
Well,
we
it was
felt a lot
still
better.
no flights because it was banker's holiday. It was the end
It's
of
a
the
big holiday
season,
weekend.
yeah.
It was like, what is the 1st of September?
Yeah.
There's a big holiday
Anyhow.
at the beginning. Anyway, we were at the 1st of September.
We had gazillions of miles on British
British Airways.
And we knew if we could get to Rome,
Yeah.
then we'd go into British Airways and say, hey, look, here's all these miles. Look what we've been
Put
through. Can
something
you help
together.
us?
Yeah.
And when we were talking to the security people at the airport in Rome, they let us go through security
The back way.
with our bags,
Pulled our bags.
without a ticket or anything, because they heard our story and they said, please come on.
We went backwards up to
Yeah.
the lounge in the British Airways with our
And
bags.
at first, the British Airways guy was livid. You're here without a ticket. You can't do. I'm calling security, and we're going to be thrown out. You know, we're not going to have this. And I said, please. I said, I'm a platinum member, and Joanne's a gold member of their club. I said, please, at least give us a cup of coffee and some orange juice, and let us use the phone over here and call. We have resources, we just don't have them with us, and here's all the miles. And the guy was real livid. And finally, it took him about 15
Well,
to 20 minutes.
Jimmy got real emotional. He teared up. He said, you don't know what we've been through. He said, we need some help. And when the guy heard the story, he said, no, you just go sit down and have some orange juice. And they got us on a plane. I don't know, they got us on a plane that day. British Airways was great. They took us into London. They got us a hotel room for
At the
overnight
airport.
at the airport.
A big meal there,
They were real nice.
breakfast
to
the
us.
next day.
Then we got into Houston.
Got
That's
it.
where the FBI took
You
Jimmy.
must have felt so relieved
Oh yeah, it was a
man.
short relief because we got to the airport, go through passport check.
in Houston.
They took him. Yeah, they took him. He
So in
disappeared.
Houston, you're back in the United States.
Uh-huh.
You're feeling finally home, sweet
Yep.
home.
Yep.
And then it begins.
It begins.
We-
They didn't
we-
take me. I had
yeah,
all the
we had already
information on me.
planned for Joanne. I said, I don't know if we're going to have any trouble there. We didn't know, but I said, you
Did you expect that you would have trouble?
Didn't know.
Not really. I didn't think
U.S.
we
was,
would.
you know, what can you expect?
Well, we hadn't broken any laws or
We
done
didn't
anything.
know what to expect.
We were just coming home after being, having a horrible
Put
experience.
through the ringer.
Yeah.
So Joanne had her bags and had secret on her person all the war crimes we
I had a hard drive.
photographed or videoed ourselves, and they let her go all the way through.
Wow.
And they pulled me out and took me to the FBI office at the airport
Wow.
in Houston.
In Houston.
And there was one man.
Did they tell you anything like why they were doing that?
No, but no.
Said, you need to come this way. We were walking together.
Oh,
Said,
okay.
sir, you need to, at the passport place, they came and took him.
And what were you thinking at that time? Did you think they were going to ask you about what happened in Libya and just...
Listen,
We were told.
I didn't know. I was sure
Were you
they were going to
nervous?
interrogate me.
A little bit, but we were told that if we had the Libyans paid for us, or we were working with their government, they could get us as working as Libyan agents or something. They could try to charge us with that. We knew we weren't, but that was in the back of my mind, that they were going to try to do something like that.
I was so happy to be on the ground in the United States that there wasn't anything they could really do to me. And what I told Joanne, I said, look, if either one of us gets stopped, then the other one goes through and goes out and gets one of our attorneys and come back. Joanne didn't do that. She went through there and she stayed. Although they kept me over 3 hours. And there were three
Stayed waiting at the airport.
Yeah, I was down in the
There were three
part
monitors
where you
like
go out
this.
to drive home.
And how were you feeling? You must have been quite concerned.
Yeah, after you've been through first Al-Qaeda, then this, then that, then the plane that didn't, was going to get shot down and stuff. So I just sat there realizing how lucky how I felt to be home and thinking, at least if anything happens to Jimmy, I have recourse here. I can do something here. I'm not, with a rogue state, a bunch of criminal mercenaries running around.
Perhaps you are.
Yeah, I know. See, I didn't know that at that time, but that was...
But there were three monitors. I was seeing the back of those, and here's one live guy. And these monitors, he's looking at them, and these monitors are giving him questions to ask me, and then he's replying. And then they got another question, and all three of them were asking the same questions. Are you an agent of the Libyan government? No. How did you get into Libya? Who paid for your tickets? And I said, it's all there. We paid for all of it. It's our money. And this went on and on and on and on. They asked so many questions, how many hairs
Didn't
did
they
I
go
have
through
on
your
my
suitcases?
backside?
Yeah.
They took my suitcase apart, took it all the way down with the lining out of it.
Wow.
I'm sure they're looking for the hard evidence we've got of war crimes and atrocities committed by the U.S., UN, and NATO.
I mean,
I don't have them.
Right, and you'd think the FBI would have the resources to look up, who paid, how you got the...
Doesn't make any difference.
They just want you
They
to
don't
say
care,
something
yeah.
that they can
Did
then
somebody buy you a cup of coffee? Yeah, we
catch you in a
nothing.
lie
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, they were trying to find the hard evidence. And I guess they thought I was such a bad guy I wouldn't give it to Joanne. I'd have it here. I'd be doing this. And, well, Joanne had better equipment to secret it upon herself. And so after 3 hours, they turned me loose finally, and they said, well,
We'll be in your house.
We're going to be interviewing you at your house or interrogating your house. Come on, anytime.
They never
So-
did show up.
But I thought you said there have been many...
They have.
FBI.
That was
later.
started by Tara Dahl and that guy out in California. That Michelle Bachmann's aide is the one who got in touch with the FBI terrorist task force guy. He was an
Tim Hunt was his
Tim
name.
Hunt. He's released. He's a policeman in Oakland on loan
Detective.
to the FBI.
Huh, more
Or police-
JTTF.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And
For
he's
10
the one.
years, he's been on the terrorist task force.
He talked to Tara, and then he said, I need to talk to them. And he told me, he said, I can't believe they didn't debrief you, because anybody who's been captured by a terrorist group has to be debriefed. So
I thought anybody who gets captured by a terrorist group gets chopped up.
They do,
Yeah, well.
they do. And so he said,
So
I would.
that's why they weren't used to this procedure.
That's right. The DIA guy, he said, I'm going to have the DIA come into your house. And he said it'd probably be a few weeks because they don't have many agents down in that area. But it was 3 days, and the guy was there. That was Eric Maddox. He gave us the name of Kevin Davis with a fake ID. I don't know why they do that. I have no idea. But anyway, he's the one who told us that we were not supposed to get out of North Africa alive, and that he had been in Iraq and other places. He said, nobody ever gets out of Al-Qaeda's hands alive. Nobody.
That's the first thing he said. He said, y'all need to be written up in the Guinness
Book of Records.
Because nobody gets out of Al-Qaeda's hands alive.
Right. I mean, it's a truly unique situation to be sitting here speaking to two people who have directly interfaced with,
terrorist groups.
Oh, believe me, we know that.
Yeah.
But the part that he said a couple of trips later into our house, and he said he was shaking his head. He said, y'all were not supposed to get out of North Africa alive.
See, that's interesting the way that he chooses to say that. It's almost like he's disappointed.
Or somebody told him that
he was apologetic.
How do you mean?
Well, because he wasn't happy about that. He wasn't
happy
a real
that
bad
he made it
guy.
out alive?
Yeah, when he first said we need to be written up in the Guinness Records, that was something that had a little humor built into it. But when he said it the next time, it was like he was not saying it with any glee or anything. He was, his eyes were downcast. And he said, he was shaking his head like this, and he said, y'all were not supposed to get out.
Yeah, but he also said, he said it was like he was disappointed. He said, I really thought we were done with this kind of crap in Iraq. He said that kind of under his breath. So he saw what happened.
Yeah,
he
said
saw.
we were back
So
doing
he's
the
saying
same thing.
He's saying that we're doing the same. We're doing that to these countries, and I think he felt real bad about what was going on over there. Now,
he's not a good guy.
When I spoke,
He was not a good guy.
No.
We don't
were trying
know.
to peel information out of us.
We don't know. They were trying to peel information, absolutely, but. When I spoke to Claire Lopez, who was, on the Citizens Committee for Benghazi, and she's ex-CIA, first question was, how do you know they're Al-Qaeda? How do you know? I said, well, if they aren't Al-Qaeda, they're terrorists then. Whatever they are, it doesn't matter. Whatever name you want to put on them, it's the same thing as what kind of missiles were they, who knows?
Right.
But she said, what makes you think they were there being supported by us? I said, because I saw it, because I was captured by them. Libya doesn't have terrorists in their country, outlawed in Libya to have terrorists. So we know for a fact.
25 Al-Qaeda.
Well, oh yeah, he told us that worldwide there's probably only 25 members of Al-Qaeda.
Who said that?
That was the Eric Maddox guy. We even had to laugh.
See, it's the name game. Ansar al-Sharia.
Right.
Oh, there's only 8 of those, and they're not here anymore, so you can't count them. And
Al-Nusra is in Syria.
We put a new name, and the Western.
The Libyan Islamic Fighting Group,
it.
LIFG, is a big one that a lot of Libyans belong to. But Bill
Al-Nusra.
Yeah.
Every name you can imagine.
It's arose by any other name.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't
Exactly.
really matter.
Now they're all consolidated as ISIS.
Yeah, but you don't even Daesh is the
But
what.
this is just really a brand name put on it by the news, by Obama.
Because what they're doing is destabilizing countries with these proxy
and
armies
they
that they
dress them
build.
all alike, and they all wear baklavas. They're all covered up, and
group of,
but no, now they have black. They have black shoes. They have cover their face.
getting more organized.
Yeah,
So
they got a lot of U.S. They got a lot of U.S. military stuff.
But again, that sounds more like marketing of it. That's scary to see a guy with a gun in a black outfit versus a couple people wearing like some Super Bowl 20 T-shirt that they got.
And
from
they've
a
gone
UN.
out and they've showed these guys cutting heads off these guys. They've showed them burning up the Jordanian pilots. They've gone through all these terror tactics that are supposed to affect all of us.
Fear porn.
Now, I know you guys are on a bit of a tight schedule and we only have a little more time left with you here. Let's talk for the remaining time about what's happened to you since you've returned to the United States, because you were obviously, both of you, very prosperous business people. You had this unique oil technology that could conceivably be sold in the United States or other oil producing, Canada or any oil producing, Russia even. What's happened since you've returned?
Well, we didn't really understand what was happening to us for the first couple of years.
Yeah, we kept trying to do our business and it kept getting shut off. Eventually,
we didn't understand, but let me give you some history on our business. Anytime we went into a new market, we would do one test well, we would rejuvenate a well, and it was always so phenomenally successful that we would sell out all of our production for 10 years overnight.
Wow.
It happened every time we did it, country after country after country.
So it's obviously
And so
technology that's
it's,
needed.
it's
very much
easy
so.
to start over if you're not halted.
Targeted.
And we didn't know at the time that we were soft-killed and blacklisted by our own government.
Now people hear that soft-killed, blacklisted, and they immediately, a lot of people are going to shut down from hearing something like that. They don't understand what that means.
Soft kill means that they destroy your life. They destroy your ability to work.
Your
they destroy
credit
your ability
rating,
to
whatever
survive,
you've got.
Everything. Our bank accounts were just taken. No cause,
So
no
you
reason.
went to the bank one day. How much money was in an account that was taken?
The big one in Libya was taken, I don't remember how much was exactly.
It had about $70 million.
Yeah, it was
So
part
you
of
had
cash bond.
$70 million in a bank account that was
Everything we had made,
dollars.
everything
Libya.
we made for
I mean,
years.
you were one percenters,
Yeah.
super wealthy.
The
See
total
what-
loss in Libya was over $200 million.
in assets and
All the feedstock, all the material to build a large-scale enzyme production plant, and all the feedstock to operate it for a couple of years was shipped into Libya. That all disappeared. The cash bonds that were in the banks, that disappeared.
What bank held this $70
the
million?
Libyan bank. What was the name of that bank? Republic.
What about
I
a
can't remember.
U.S.-based account that
No.
was shut
We
down?
didn't.
We had U.S. accounts.
We
yes,
did, but
they were Wells Fargo and Bank of America.
Wells
and all that,
Fargo
all
shut
corporates.
down.
Those just disappeared. They were taken.
What kind of amount of money was in an account like that at Wells Fargo or Bank of America?
Probably here there was less than $2 million.
But even so, that's a very significant. I mean,
Right.
if somebody had $5,000 in a bank account that got shut down, you'd freak out. So did you go to the bank? Did you communicate with these
Yeah,
banks at all?
This is yes, and of course there were
They said it was a
departments-
business decision,
Yeah.
and nobody.
To steal your money?
It was a business decision, and that it was in a department that nobody can talk to.
What?
That's
Yeah.
That's what I said. I can't call it department. No, I don't even
So
have a
the
number
bank
for
just-
it. They said we don't even have a
and
number
it
for
kept,
it.
You know, the things that started mushrooming.
Bank can just keep $2 million of your dollars and say,
Listen,
It was in
in
a bunch of
Libya,
different
the
accounts
Libyan
and-
people who had bank accounts all got their money stolen. All the Libyans.
Libya, I'm not saying this is right, but I could understand that they would say, well, this is a country, there's a war going on, and there's
Right.
sanctions, it's government stuff. That's at least an explanation.
Right.
People go to Bank of America, put their card in the ATM machine, and, you know, right as rain, there's got to be money there if you put money in it, or
Okay.
the world is upside down.
It's
These
coming.
accounts were for the corporations that we had established to do business in Libya.
And there was no legal action against these corporations?
No, but they said because it had ties to Libyan entities. So it was this.
And what about your personal bank accounts?
Well, they kept dwindling down. We had huge credit facilities. We literally had hundreds of millions of dollars of credit facilities because we would buy materials to feed our enzyme plants. We would pay for equipment to be transferred to another country. All these things. Those credit facilities got cut down to less than what we owed on them.
So
And
you had
then
to pay immediately.
So, you know, you go down to a point where you've got credit facilities of $9 million and you owe $10,200,000, 11 different entities. And those entities immediately want payment. And of course, we had no ability to pay, so we went to court. And all of our attorneys
Disappeared.
ran away from us. All of them.
They said we're basically under house arrest.
They didn't
Probably
want
should
anything
go to an
do with
embassy
us.
and apply for asylum in some country.
They didn't want anything to
That's
do
what
with
they
us.
told us to do.
So they
Asylum where?
Pick a country, they said, that might give
we
you
couldn't get out of the
asylum.
country.
Maybe
But
Russia.
Yeah.
I started defending myself in court pro se. And I said, we're going to declare force majeure because there is all the money and all
war.
the ability to repay is based on activities in Libya. Fighting's still going on. So the judge says, well, that's a novel idea for an individual to do that, but you know, I think it's valid. So the 7 times I went to court, I won every one of them on pro se as force majeure. Now that does not eliminate the debt. But 40 months after the hostilities stop, we have to pay back all the money with all the interest and everything and penalties.
But the
So,
fighting
okay,
hasn't
fine.
stopped yet, so.
Wow. So you're still in pretty tremendous financial debt?
Sure, but it's worse than that. Our business has been blocked
How
from
do you mean
operating.
blocked?
It means that the agents and associates we had that were willing to help us start over, their businesses were attacked. One guy in the environmental remediation, we provided him with enzyme. He had his permit for 17 years. It was pulled. He's out of business. He's now working for somebody as a laborer, where he was a very successful environmental remediation guy.
Kuwait, we had a contract with Kuwait to remove NORM, that's natural occurring radioactive material.
For the whole country.
For the whole, it was about a $150 million contract, and it was just sitting there waiting for us. We were going to do Libya first,
We were
and so
going
we
to
decided
actually supply the material from the new facility out of
Libya. And we couldn't get. They sent somebody over here to talk to us.
There was a young man that the prince sent over, and he actually was living in Atlanta, and he was here for no purpose other than to communicate with us and make sure we had that contract set up.
Wow.
We couldn't reach him, and all of a sudden, I finally gave up and called Sabi back, our friend. I said, Sabi, what is
He's in Libya,
Kuwait.
Sabi.
No,
Kuwait.
He's
right,
Kuwaiti
right. The guy who was
family
going to
member.
donate the balloon.
Right.
Kuwaiti royal family member, and I said, Sabi, we can't reach the prince. His guy's gone. He said, it's political. It's your Secretary of State's office told the prince that they couldn't do any business with you. So he said, we sorry, but that's that.
Wow. And so
that's soft kill.
And when you see Hillary Clinton prancing around saying all black men look alike and that she wants to run for president in 2020 and all the incredibly idiotic and criminal things that she says and does, how's that make you feel?
Well,
it's incredulous. I yell at my TV,
and listen, it's not just us, but let me tell you, it's all the people in the United States that we've ever talked to. They said we must see equitable penalties for all these traitors.
Yeah.
And like I say, we need to see these people perp walked up to a guillotine, and we need to see the head roll. And if we don't see that, then we don't believe there's been any justice for us. Because believe me, the system has worked against us illegally.
Yeah.
And these people have done all these horrendous things, and they don't even get to
reason justice.
All courts should be shut down right now unless Hillary Clinton and these people are arrested, because it's a hypocrisy.
It is worse than that. It's really hard to believe in justice. I mean, just hearing your story, let alone living it. I'm sensitive to the time that you need to go, but I think this has been right? We're getting close.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole lot of things that have happened to us that we can tell you in 2 minutes. Like I was offered 4 jobs, top executive level for companies that needed international expertise. I was offered those jobs. None of those offers stayed on the table more than about 10 days or 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden they were pulled without explanation. And after a while, I thought, I'm just too old and fat to get a job. Doesn't make any difference what the credentials are, because you really have to start looking at that. They planted drugs on our car. Those were found by the guy that changed oil, and we're counting him as an angel. They picked us up on the highway. They wouldn't give us an ID or show us a badge or anything, kept us for over 31 and a half hours. They said, we can do this anytime we want. We can make you disappear.
Talk a bit about those guys who picked you up on the highway. It wasn't the cops.
No, they were in suits. There were 2 SUVs. They put Joanne in one car, me in the other. Windows were blacked out. We drove for an hour and a half. We don't know where we went. Pulled into a parking building, underground parking building, put us on separate elevators, took us up to rooms. There was a metal table bolted to the floor. The chair was bolted to the floor. They were over there. And they kept asking us the same questions. We talked about this afterwards. Well, when we got back, finally, our SUV, our old Sequoia, was in the driveway. For sure, they'd been through the house, all they wanted.
That's why
raped
they
all
took
the
us.
computers. They were trying to find, I'm sure, the information that we have the hard proof of war crimes and atrocities. They've been trying to get that ever since.
And I think the next thing that we need to do is just proliferate that information everywhere.
Yeah. And my question was, why don't they just kill us? And we were told by someone on the other side who'd been there for a long time working with this kind of stuff. They said you are an asset to them. You talk to the tribes all the time. They don't have any inroad into the tribes at all. So you're an asset. However, you are not compromised, and that's what they're trying to do, is compromise you. They're
They
trying to
keep
get you
trying
in
to
jail
catch
on
us
drugs or
So
something.
that they can force you to do
Yeah,
everything.
he said somebody will show up with a big paper. It says you sign here with us.
Oh,
This will all go
our
away.
first DVD, because they said nobody will make a donation, but they'll buy a DVD. Our first DVDs we had made, it was our cover, but porno inside.
Hardcore.
And
porno.
the DVDs were delivered 2 days early. And by the time we figured out what they were, we had destroyed them. But 2 days later, the police, the locals, show up in Northern California to arrest us for possession of pornography with intent to distribute.
And how
that would have
would
made
those
us felon.
how would those police know that you had that?
How did the DVDs get there from Korea?
No, it was Taiwan.
Taiwan, Friday afternoon when we
To
finally
Monday
approved
morning.
it to Monday morning.
I
8
remember
o'clock
you-
Monday morning it was delivered.
We need to.
I remember
Yeah.
you told me the
Yeah.
story at Operation Classified.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I know you guys need to go. I really do appreciate the time you've spent with me over the past 2 days. This is an amazing story that we're going to continue to explore. I'm so proud to know you both. You're so brave, Joey.
We feel the same way.
Thank you
same
so
way,
much
Jason.
for sharing
So
your
nice.
story. And
Have your folks keep us in their prayers because that's very
Absolutely.
important to us.
And
we need help. We need a lot of help in a lot of areas, you know.
Yeah.
people need to go to LibyanWarTheTruth.com, purchase the DVD. They can email you guys there. There's lots of information on there. And hopefully we can get some more people looking at that, and perhaps there is a happy ending to this story.
Always hope for that.
Okay, Joanne, Jimmy, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And thanks everyone for watching.
God bless you. Thank you.